Our guest today, Kris Vallotton, says the world is ready for another sexual revolution. People worldwide are tired of perversion and the postmodern mindset that has led to an explosion of STDs, AIDS, abortion, broken homes and marriages, and broken lives. Kris is an accomplished author and communicator, and his latest work, Purity, the New Moral Revolution, takes a non-religious, gut-honest, fresh look at a subject as old as Adam and Eve. Sex, S-E-X. And that's what we want to talk about today, because, you know, it's something we don't talk about that we need to talk about as people of faith.
Yeah, and sex is a dirty word in the church, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. Tell us a little bit about the New Moral Revolution, because, you know, we're just in the back in the production room there, and one of the questions that came up is, what do you mean New Moral Revolution? What revolution's going on?
Well, we all know about the revolution of the 60s, you know, free love, free sex, and we understand that we're reaping the quote benefits of that culture. Right. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the Lord is bringing us into a new moral revolution. It's not just for the church, but I believe it's a global revolution where we're moving back to values of purity. And I think that a lot of the moral revolution of the 60s was actually a reaction to the Victorian religious spirit. Mm-hmm. That, you know, I don't know, when the church talks about sex, it's kind of like, have you ever seen Home Improvement where Wilson is, you know, standing behind? and that's the way the church deals with sex. Like, you know, it's kind of like it's a dirty word. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the Lord wants to bring us back to kingdom values. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And bring us back to kingdom sexuality. You know, when God said, "Be fruitful and multiply," it was His idea. Right. To create a sex drive, and you know, and the last part of that chapter says, and it was very good. Right. And so, you know, I said to our church, turn to your neighbor and say, "Sex is very good." Mm-hmm. And that was kind of.
Did they do it? They probably struggled.
Yeah, they did. They did. Our church is amazing. They turned. I said, now turn to your neighbor and say, "Sex is very good. God created it. It was His idea."
So now you do bring out the point that, you know, there's a difference between the religious viewpoint and then a kingdom viewpoint.
That's
and
right.
That, through the Victorian era and kind of the ideals proposed through state churches and traditional churches, that, you know, sex wasn't seen as something more than a necessary evil, you know, even if it was.
That's right. Well, you know, if you read like the Song of Solomon, for instance, you hear about the bridal chamber, and we all, you know, talk about the bridal chamber.
Embarrassing book there.
Yeah, that book only made it in the canon by one vote. You know, that was pretty amazing. But, you know, what is the bridal chamber? You know, weddings lasted a week, and what was going on there? You know, what happened in a bridal chamber is the way Jewish weddings happen, and you know, they had bridesmaids and groomsmen, mm-hmm. and it wasn't for pictures in those days. You know, it wasn't so that you could have these beautiful pictures. But what would happen is that the bridegroom and the bride and the bridegroom, they would go into the bridal chamber, mm-hmm. and they would consummate the marriage. They would take the sheet from the bed, which should have blood on it, because
mm-hmm.
obviously the bride is supposed to be a virgin, mm-hmm. and they would throw the sheet over the top of the bridal chamber, and the festival would start, and it would last a week. Wow. And that festival, you know, that feast, that celebration, it wasn't just for adults. You know, it wasn't X-rated, mm-hmm. but from little children all the way to teenagers, everybody, you know, everybody would come to this feast that would last for a week, and the groomsmen and the bridesmaids would wait on the bride and the groom, and so that they could stay in the bridal chamber for a week, and you know, and have a good time, mm-hmm. and that was open celebration, mm-hmm. and so you know that in America we have the talk with our children. It's like, all right, who's going to do the talk? You know, but in Jewish culture, there wasn't a talk; it was a culture. Mm-hmm. Like, you go to a wedding and you see that. You see, you know, virginity presented right there. You know, there you have a talking point, a monument.
Right,
you know,
a memory maker.
A memory maker, yeah. And you know, children from the very, you know, youngest is as young as, you know, 2, 3, 4 years old. Mommy, what's that? Why does that sheet have blood on it? And you begin to realize, like, right in Jewish culture, people realized that the covenant was to be consummated before the children were conceived.
Yeah, right, yeah. That's such a great perspective that you bring out. Because one of the things you do say is that talking to our teens and our kids about sex is not enough. Why isn't it enough?
Well, it's not enough because sexuality is supposed to be a part of our life. It's not, what happens is like almost every Christian will agree that it's normal to have a sex drive. Mm-hmm. It's in the definitions. Like, what does a sex drive mean? And what happens to our children, what happens to Christian children when they hit puberty and they begin to have a sex drive? Well, I can tell you what happens in most religious cultures. We pretend it isn't really happening. Right. Like, this isn't really happening. But what a sex drive means, I mean, the definition of sex drive means, I want to have sex with somebody. Mm-hmm. That's where the definition breaks down. So we say, yeah, it's normal for children when they hit adolescence, they hit puberty, they have a sex drive. We go, okay, what does a sex drive mean? Mm-hmm. A sex drive means that I have a desire to have sex with somebody. And I'm not supposed to get rid of that. I'm supposed to manage that. Right. Uh-huh. So
rather than kind of dismiss it or deal with it in a negative way, let's look at what it's all about and why is it there? And that begs the question, why is there a sex drive there years before there's an opportunity even for marriage?
Yeah, and the first thing is let's stop pretending it isn't happening. Mm-hmm. And let's stop making it something that we're ashamed of.
Right.
Yeah, and I believe that the reason why God gave us a sex drive years before he wanted us to have sex inside of marriage, inside of covenant, is because the value of your virginity is in the blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to get it, your virginity, mm-hmm. from the battlefield all the way to the honeymoon suite. Mm-hmm. So that on the honeymoon night, you have something to offer your lover that you had to fight to keep. Mm-hmm. Like your virginity is a trophy. I was thinking about this. I have 7 grandchildren, and my grandson ran into church one day, and he had this little trophy that he had just won for soccer. He's 9 years old. And he runs in and he says, Papa, look at my trophy. And he hands me this trophy, and it's this little plastic trophy. And I'm like, and he's so excited, and I'm like, oh, Elijah, that's so awesome, And I'm thinking to myself, they could at least made it metal,
Right.
I mean, come on, give the kid a metal trophy, And as he walked away, I had this thought. It's like, it's not the trophy that gives the game value. Mm-hmm. It's the game
that gives a trophy
value.
That
gives a trophy value. Yeah. And like in the playoffs, the year that Michael Jordan was in the playoffs in I think it was 1997, one of the greatest NBA playoffs in history. He's sick, he's got the flu. And
right.
I don't know if you're a basketball fan, but Michael Jordan is on the sidelines, sick, vomiting, and they're feeding him intravenously, and they're down by 3 points, 38 seconds left, and they put Michael Jordan back in the game, and he ends up scoring 38 points in that game, and they go on to win the NBA playoffs. But that's one of the most valuable trophies in history. But nobody says, well, how much is the trophy worth? Mm-hmm. No, nobody's arguing over how much the trophy is worth. Well, how much did they pay for that trophy? Is that mm-hmm. is that a $100,000 trophy? Because the game is what gives the trophy value.
Yeah.
And in your virginity, the value of your virginity is in the struggle, the challenge, in the battle that it takes to get your virginity all the way to the honeymoon suite. Mm-hmm. So that you have something to offer your lover that you had to fight for.
How do you teach your kids to get through that battle? Because many don't make it through there with the trophy at the end.
Well, I think that, first of all, it's important for us to realize that it's vision that gives pain a purpose. Proverbs 29:18, we quote it all the time. Without a vision, the people perish, but happy is he who keeps the law. I don't think he's talking about the law of Moses there. I think he's talking about the law of restraint. In other words, if I go work out one day and I get up the next morning, first day I work out, I don't want to be fat, so I go work out. I get up the next morning, I can't hardly move, right? I mean, there's only one reason I'm going to go back to that gym, and that is that I have a vision for a great body.
Right.
Not wanting to be fat won't keep me at the gym.
Yeah.
But vision, if I have a vision will cause me to restrain my options so that I can capture my purpose. So it's vision that gives pain a purpose. See, I think that one of the things that we need to realize is like telling your children, like, well, you're going to get AIDS. You're going to something terrible is going to happen to you.
Right.
That's
you
not
might
a
get
vision.
pregnant, and then right, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to begin to tell our young people, and not just our young people. I mean, this is people. Your sexual passions don't end the day you get married. Mm-hmm. I mean, hopefully, the goal is that they don't end when you get married. I mean, your need to control your sexual desires don't end the day you get married. It's not that all of us who are married know that. I've been married 33 years. So, in my opinion, part of the solution is that we help our sons and daughters understand, what the heck am I fighting for?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They said David got in trouble with God. Mm-hmm. And the prophet said to David, go down to a certain place, buy this land, and give me an offering, and you'll be out of trouble. And so he goes down to this guy's property. The guy's very wealthy, and David says, I need to buy this piece of property and give God an offering. And the guy says, David, you're the king, I'll give you the land.
Yeah.
And David makes this profound statement, far be it from me that I should offer to God something that costs me nothing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, one of the things that we need to teach our sons and daughters is that you're fighting to bring your lover something powerful, and the victory is in the battle. Like, the greater the battle, the greater the victory.
Yeah.
And so that you can present your lover with something that is powerful, that's worth something.
Yeah, awesome. That is, it's just, I'd love to sit here, Kris, for the next 45 minutes and just keep digging in. And maybe we'll have an opportunity to bring you back and get you to speak more about purity, the new moral revolution, because it is a powerful, powerful work. And I want to encourage you right now, maybe you're in a position where you've got some teenagers growing up. This is a fantastic resource, moms and dads, to go through with them, to go through for yourself first. And then, maybe you're in a position where you've kind of lost that treasure of virginity, or if you lost that place of purity, how to recapture it, how to get back on the right track. If you'd like to connect with Kris, you can visit us at harvest-tv.com. Click on Show Info in the menu bar. Find an easy way to link to his website as well. You'll see a copy of the book there. You click on that cover, order it, and pay for it. It'll be sent right to your door. We'll be back in a moment.